We're going to talk about this today. Later, once the sun rises. Let's chat. So the problem is we can't go outside for even a split second. You would think the boy is neglected. Definitely not neglected. But each time it rains, and he's not very old, I think he's 15 weeks old right now, 16. But every time we go out, it's lap, lap, lap. Lick on the grass, lap it all up. You can't take him outside enough times to release the water out of him. And then he has his little accidents. And you just can't keep up with it. You pretty much just have to go out every 20 minutes. And still you miss it. So people, if you have a remedy to this problem short of putting a muzzle on the dog so he can't lap, lap, lap. And this is really nothing. We flood pretty bad here in southeast Texas. And certain times of the year we get a lot of rain. So again, if you can come up with some sort of a solution, or you've got a solution for your puppy troubles, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And this is why everywhere, water in the grass, on the street, slosh, 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 slosh. He waits patiently. He just was out. Hubert. And now he says, I'm going to go out. Hubie, hello, boy. And I'm going to go out and look some more ground. So as I walk, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. But today it's a little bit difficult because we had a long night with the new puppy. And while I walk, I just say, Lord, heal me. I feel my body healing. It's not going to heal with comfort level. It's going to heal with some work. And it has healed tremendously. And it needs to heal some more. I believe it will. The retention pond is full. It's been full since Imelda. So here we go, more rain. Trying to decide what I'm going to do with this puppy. It's grown almost as tall as me this summer. And it's almost November. It's too heavy to take indoors, too tall as well. That could be a problem. Okay guys, so it ended up being an ooey gooey misty walk. But it beats 103 degrees. When it rains in southeast Texas, it just simply rains in southeast Texas. And yes, I've had a real challenging day with the puppy. We've worked through some of the challenges that we've had with him so far, like the biting, the jumping on you, and all that good stuff. But this rain thing and not wanting to use the bathroom outside because it's raining, and wanting to lap up the water, it's going to take some research. You know, Google is our friend these days. Okay, so I mentioned to you that I was going to talk just a little bit about my health. And about 2 years and 8 months ago, I ended up in the hospital, didn't know that I was a diabetic. I had sepsis and a couple other things like bladder, had a bladder problem, whatever, and found out that I was a diabetic. My blood sugar was, I think, 439. Of course, I spent probably a week in the hospital at that time, and it was a pretty scary time frame for me, but they actually had to go in and do brain scan and various things just to make sure that I didn't have any brain damage, which there was none. The goofy woman I am is just the goofy woman I am. But I left the hospital. This is a long story, and I don't want to go too long, but I left the hospital with an American Diabetes Association diet. I think for people that are eating extremely high carb, this diet might help them for a while. But I quickly did a ton of research, and within a week, I had lowered my blood sugar. I was sent home with long-acting insulin and short-acting insulin. I immediately changed my diet, though, immediately lowered my carbs, and I never ever had to take the fast-acting insulin. I just never hit those numbers. I think my number was, if I went above 150, I had to do a very small millimeter shot to bring my blood sugar down really fast, and I never had to use it. I'm going to make this a long story short. A year later, after a ketogenic diet and some extremely light exercise, I didn't exercise much at all, I rid myself of those shots. Rid myself of insulin, I should say. That didn't sound so great. Turned right around and was put on glipizide shots, or glipizide pills. And I was on that for a year. My blood sugar numbers were just my blood glucose numbers were really, really good. The doctor looked at me in amazement and said, I don't know what you're doing. You're doing it right. Keep on doing it. He didn't really want to know what I was doing. He just knew it was working well. So the glipizide worked very well for me. I was on that for a year. I then moved and went to a new doctor, and this was about 6 months ago, and he said, I want you off of that glipizide. You're 61 years old. You're going to have a low that's too low. And he put me on metformin, and he put me on the lowest dose. I struggled with that for a couple of months. I had some highs. I never had highs like I did when I came out of the hospital or in the hospital. Never had highs enough to even think about an insulin shot, but I did have some highs. I think, according to my meter, and meters can vary by up to 20%, which is a whole nother frustrating thing that we're going to talk about someday. But my meter, the highest I think that it's shown was 129, 125. And then all of a sudden I noticed I had the dawn phenomenon, which your blood sugar numbers are higher in the morning than they are the rest of the day. And I'm just pretty sure that cortisol is one of the issues with me, which is cortisol is a hormone that wakes you up in the morning. It's also a stress hormone. But my body went through about 2 months of adjustments, of highs that I had not seen in a while, which really did upset me greatly. I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for the next month, and I actually was able to kind of delay that for another month. But then he insisted on an A1C, and I told the doctor, I said, that A1C is going to reflect some higher numbers. He totally ignored me. I told him, I said, I don't think the A1C is going to reflect the average that it should right now, because I really struggled. Glipizide is a drug that works on your pancreas. It makes your pancreas create a ton of insulin. It just makes it pump out there, and your beta cells can actually wear out from this. When I was switched to metformin, this is a drug that works on your liver, not your pancreas. So we actually did a flip-flop on what organs we were working on, and that was a huge adjustment for my body, very huge. Anyhow, long story short, the doctor raised my prescription he increased my prescription for metformin based on the A1C. Didn't even call me and tell me that he was doing so. I had to call and ask, because I noticed I had received 120 pills when I went to the pharmacy instead of 90. Bad doctoring, in my opinion, just real bad. I called and I said, I just really don't think this increase is necessary. I think my body just needs to go through some more adjustment period. My A1C was 6.1, which is not horrible. My A1C prior to that was 5 point something. My A1C in the hospital was 11.3. I have worked so hard. I've lost 50 or 60 pounds. I want to lose another minimal 36, probably more than that. And long story short, in the last couple of weeks, I have actually leveled out. I've had some nice 99s and 100s. When I get up in the morning, I'm fasting blood glucose, and my daytime numbers are running in the 80s and the 90s. I see some 79s. I am thrilled. Do not tell me my body wasn't going through an adjustment. And guess what, folks? I am taking the original metformin amount that was prescribed. I'm not taking the 1.5 pills. I was having to cut a pill in half, a pill that wasn't supposed to be cut in half. And not only did I not feel like my body needed that increase in medication, it upset my stomach once again, because the pill, when I split the pill in half, it caused some stomach irritation. So then I had to start taking, I'm going to screw this word up, omeprazole, because my stomach was so upset. Well, the good news is now I've been praying on healing, and I think I'm healing. I think my body is adjusting. My numbers are looking so good, and I'll tell you more on what I'm doing at a later date, as I'm up on 8 minutes already here talking. But that's my story. Short story in a nutshell. I get out and I walk. I don't walk so much to lose weight. I walk for heart health. I do cardio, which is pretty brisk walking for at least a half an hour a day. On the weekends, I'm doing anywhere from 5 to 6 to 7. Sometimes I've done 11 miles. Those days I die at night. I die the next day. But that's just what I do. I just think that if we work really hard on our diet, and mine is the ketogenic, I do 7 or less carbs a day. I started out at 20. The American Diabetes Association had me at like, I don't know, it's a really high number. I'm thinking 70, 80 a day, and then 15 for a snack. And I immediately cut that down to 20. I cut it later down to 13. I plateaued on my diet, my weight, for well over a year, probably a year and a half. I plateaued. I gained a few pounds on glipizide. Glipizide can actually cause you to gain 2 to 3 pounds a week. Look it up. I'm not exaggerating. I think I gained about 15 pounds on glipizide. When I came off and was prescribed this metformin, I just felt like I couldn't lose weight at all. I just felt stuck. I ordered a ketogenic meter, so now I know when I'm in ketosis, and I pretty much always am. And I went in and cut my carbs down from 13 grams a day to 7. I don't cheat on protein. My protein macro is based on my goal weight. It's not based on my current weight. I want to preserve any muscle that I have, and I have some muscles in these legs. I have very strong legs. And in my upper body, I'm muscular. The middle is my problem. It's that old insulin resistant problem. I've done a lot of research. The doctor has lied to me on several occasions, and that's a whole nother story. I just don't trust any of that anymore. But between the walking and the ketogenic diet, I'm on the right track. I feel my body is healing, and I will continue to update you with how things are going. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm always here to help. I'm always here to listen. I'm an advocate for this diet. I'm an advocate for reversing or bettering your type 2 diabetes. I am not an advocate for adjusting your medication so that you can eat mashed potatoes and gravy and ice cream every day, or Cokes. Your body can heal. Your body can adjust. I'm 61 years old. I had probably been a diabetic for 40 years, just didn't know it because I've always been scared to death of the doctors. I lost a lot of that in the hospital when I was nearly in a coma with a horrible case of sepsis, and I call it a case, but it was sepsis, it wasn't a case. And, I had to just lay there and say, God, you have this. You are going to take care of me here in this hospital, and I know I'm going to be okay. And just so happens it's been a long road. Like I said, it's been, I think, 2 years and 8 months. It's been a long road. But, from an A1C 11.3 down to what the doctor's saying that's pre-diabetic. I've worked hard at this, and anyone can do this. You just have to put your mind to it. You don't cheat. Do I feel neglected? No. Do I feel like I have to neglect myself? No. There's the one thing I do crave is more of, I used to love to go to the farmers markets and I'd load up on peaches or I'd load up on fresh apples in the fall. And no, I can't do that anymore. When I go to maintenance on this diet, and it's going to happen, I will allow myself to imbibe on a peach or an apple or something like that, but that isn't going to happen until I feel like my body has healed itself a bit more. Until then, it's worth it to me to not eat the french fries, not eat the potatoes and chips, and I'll probably never do that again. I eat whole foods, and it's working. But that's the whole gist of this. It's the exercise. I also wanted to mention the puppy. It's been a real challenging day. It's been 9 years since we had a puppy. We lost our 9-year-old English Bulldog couple 3 months ago. And this is our new English Bulldog. We miss Diesel every day of our life, but we really appreciate Mr. Hubert, Hubie, the Hube. But a lot has been forgotten with training the dog. With the pour down rains that we're having today that's coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, I've actually had to put some puppy pads down, which I didn't think I'd ever do that in my life. And luckily, the accidents that he's had, he's went on the pads. I just don't want to puppy train him pad. He's going to be a big boy someday. We're talking probably 60 pounds. I don't see it. I think he's going to range 50 to 55, but everybody around me says they see it. Doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter. But let me know if you have any questions, and I got to go. We're up to 14 minutes now. So thank you for listening to me here, and I hope you're not having a crazy rainy day that like we are when you watch this, but things happen. We go from a drought to deluge. It's just the way of the world, I think. Y'all have a great day. And I look forward to talking to you, and hit subscribe if you like hearing what my message is. And I look forward to talking to you all again.